What if some of Columbia's best neighborhoods are the ones the internet is actually telling you to avoid? Look, I know I might catch some heat for this, but locals have been keeping this part of town a secret for a reason. Look, one of the first things we hear when people call is, I was doing some research and I don't want to live in Columbia. I want to be in the suburbs. But if you've been watching my interview with local series, you've heard something entirely different. Over and over again, people rave about the neighborhoods in Columbia. Places like Forest Acres, Devine Street, Shandon and beyond. And it's not just the young adults. It's retirees and even families, especially knowing some of their high schools just got rated as some of the best high schools in the state, topping other schools that are usually the fan favorites. Look, people from all walks of life are choosing these areas as home. So is this Columbia's true hidden gem? Are these the neighborhoods that locals know and love, but the internet has completely overlooked because of generalized stats and canned responses shunning Columbia? We're gonna find out as we break down the true pros and cons, and whether it's time to listen to the locals and not just the search results in Facebook and Reddit groups that honestly might just be secretly trying to keep the transplants from learning about these spots. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. If you're not from here, you've probably heard of places like Lake Murray, Lexington, Irmo, Lake Carolina, and Blythewood. But you might not know much about Forest Acres, Devine Street, or Shandon. They often get looped into downtown or a college district, and people tend to breeze right over them. Yet these are some of the most loved neighborhoods inside Columbia, and not just by people who've lived here forever. I mean, they've got their own charm, walkability, and lifestyle that feels totally different from the suburbs. I mean, think tree-lined streets, local coffee shops, cute boutiques, high-end condos and apartments. And the biggest draw? Homes full of character. I mean, you're still close to downtown, but it doesn't feel too downtown. So let's break down each one. What people love, what catches people off guard, and whether one of these could be the sweet spot for you. All right, so let's talk location. Where exactly are these neighborhoods? Forest Acres, Devine Street, Shandon, all of these are kind of tucked just east and southeast of downtown Columbia. You're literally about 5 to 10 minutes from the heart of the city, depending on where you are. It's that true 15-minute city life that a lot of people love. You got Devine Street running straight through the area. It's kind of like the main artery here, but it's packed with local shops, restaurants, and boutiques. Millwood Avenue, Rosewood Drive, and Forest Drive are the other major roads that tie everything together. And if you need to hop on the highway, I-77 is super close, and I-26 isn't far either. So you're still well connected, even if you work outside the city. But what makes these areas really stand out though, they feel different than the suburbs. In places like Lexington, Northeast Columbia, you'll find those newer developments, larger shopping centers, and that spread out suburban feel. But here, Forest Acres or Shandon, you get older, more established neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, and homes full of character and that real community vibe. You're not driving 15 minutes just to find a grocery store or a coffee shop. A lot of that is right outside your neighborhood. In fact, many locals walk or bike to their favorite spots, which is pretty rare in other parts of Columbia. So if you're looking for that close to everything lifestyle without giving up charm and community, this part of Columbia might check a lot of your boxes. But now that you got a feel for where these neighborhoods sit and what's around them, let's take a closer look at what it's actually like to live in them. Because the vibe on these streets, totally different than your typical planned community. And once you see the homes, you'll understand why. And later on, we will hit those uncensored pros and cons, so you don't want to miss that while you're falling in love with some of these streets. Real quick, if you're finding this helpful, this is the kind of stuff we share that most people don't talk about online. We go beyond the stats and headlines to actually show you what life is like in these neighborhoods. The stuff you only find after moving here and living here and talking to the locals. So if you're trying to figure out if this move makes sense for you, we've got free guides, videos, and actual people ready to help. Everything's linked down below, but let's keep going. Let's start with Forest Acres. This area is full of homes built anywhere from the 1940s to the 1970s. So you're gonna see brick ranches, split levels, and updated classics. As well, some newer construction sprinkled in too. But we're not talking production built neighborhoods. We're talking a few houses snuck in here and there with that design that matches the local vibe. What makes it special is that many of the streets still have this quiet, tucked away feel, even though you're close to shopping, restaurants, and everything else. The yards are bigger than what you typically find in newer suburbs, and many of the homes have been renovated, but they still hold on to that original charm. You also find a ton of local pride. People who've lived here for decades, raising their families, walking dogs, chatting with neighbors, and you see them every local event, parades, many years later. It's got that hometown feel right in the middle of the city. As well, you have one of the most premier country clubs in the Midlands, the Forest Lake Club. It was built back in 1923, and they say generations have enjoyed its beautiful landscape, phenomenal golf courses, tennis courts, pickleball courts, swimming pools, and various dining and entertainment venues. Then you got the Devine Street and Shandon area. These two have a bit more of that historic district vibe. In Shandon, these homes go back to the early 1900s. Think craftsman-style bungalows, two-story colonials, and tree canopies that create this kind of postcard look. It's the kind of place where front porches still matter, and every house still has its own personality. Along Devine Street, you're in a mix of residential and walkable commercial, so you literally might just be steps away from your favorite brunch spot or boutique. It's ideal for folks who want a walkable lifestyle without feeling like they live in the middle of the city. And it all dead ends at 5 Points, another crowd favorite, where they host tons of community events, have highly rated shops, restaurants, and more. Compared to the suburbs, where most of the homes were built after the 90s and kind of follow that similar floor plan and style, these neighborhoods offer tons of character, mature landscaping, and architectural variety, and it's hard to truly replicate. But here's the thing, non-master planned HOA doesn't mean it's free for all. Shandon, for example, has historical preservation guidelines, and Forest Acres is under much stricter city codes than what you'll find in the unincorporated parts of Lexington, Irmo, or others. That's exactly how these neighborhoods protect their character and charm, and why their home values keep climbing steadily year after year. With that said, pricing can vary a lot depending on how updated that home is. But this is definitely a spot where character outweighs square footage. And for many people, that's the whole point. So now you know the streets, the homes, and the history. But what's it actually like to live here? Because if you haven't driven through lately, you might be surprised. This part of Columbia has been quietly leveling up, and locals are truly loving it. So one of the biggest draws to Forest Acres, Shandon, and the Devine Street corridor is how easy and enjoyable day-to-day life feels. Let's start with shopping and dining. This area is packed with local favorites. Places like Taza Kitchen, Tombo Grill, The Gourmet Shop, Il Giorgione, they're all right around the corner. You've also got more casual go-to spots like Zaz on Devine or Pita's, and coffee shops like Bloom Coffee or India Coffee, where people actually know your name. And on the shopping side, Trenholm Plaza has become a major hub with stores like Publix, Fresh Market, Lululemon, Anthropologie, Starbucks, all in one place. That's something you just don't get in the more spread out suburbs. And just up the street, the new Cardinal Crossing with high-end apartments next to Lowe's Food, Bad Daddy's Burgers, Lazy Daisy Coffee, and Trader Joe's right across the street. On top of that, the plan's being released for the brand new Richland Mall. That's gonna include parks, breweries, shopping, and more. It's set to change the way people shop, so that errands that used to take 20 minutes are now just a few blocks away. Look, when it comes to staying actives, you got Orange Theory, Burn Boot Camp, and Cycle Bar nearby. Plus, you'll see plenty of people walk or run the quiet neighborhood streets or hit the trails at the Riverfront Park, because it's just a short drive away. Schools are actually another big reason families are eyeing this area. That's right. Forest Acres and Shandon feed into AC Floral High School and Dreyer High School, both recently ranked among the best high schools in South Carolina, and even the nation, according to US News and World Report. And here's the kicker. They actually outrank some of the heavy hitters you'd expect, like Lexington and River Bluff. That's right. You thought top performing schools were only for the suburbs? Surprise, the city just proved you wrong. Look, altogether, these neighborhoods are seeing what I call the next wave. Younger families moving in, longtime residents staying put, still flying their garnet and black flags on Saturdays in fall, and businesses evolving to meet the needs of both. You don't have to drive 30 minutes for a good meal or a doctor's visit. It's all right here, but still wrapped in charm and convenience. It's kind of that perfect blend of old Columbia charm and modern living. It's what makes this part of town feel like its own little world. So you've got great restaurants, charming homes, and local spots people rave about. But what about the stuff that really matters day to day? Commutes, traffic, healthcare. All the things you don't see in photos, but definitely feel once you live here. Let's break that down, and then we'll wrap up with some real life stories and those true pros and cons you're not gonna wanna miss. All right, first off, commute times. So if you work downtown in healthcare, or even on base at Fort Jackson, you're kind of in this sweet spot here. Most people say they can get where they need to go in 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes even less than that. Compare that to living in Lexington or the Northeast, where you're often dealing with rush hour backups on I-20, I-26, or hey, even Sunset Boulevard. Traffic here just feels different too. You're using local roads like Forest Drive, Devine Street, or Beltline. So it's steady, but not overwhelming. And for weekend trips or flights, I mean, you're about 20 minutes from Columbia Metro Airport, or you can easily hop on I-77 with ease to hit Charlotte International. When it comes to healthcare, I mean, you're surrounded by options. There's Prisma Health, Lexington Medical's Forest Acres campus, the Dorn VA Hospital, MUSC, urgent care spots, and plenty of specialty providers all nearby. This isn't the kind of area where you need to drive across town for basic care. It's kind of all right here. For essential grocery runs, they're simple. I mean, you got Publix, Fresh Market, Trader Joe's off Forest Drive, and even Whole Foods, not far off the beaten path. Plus, you're never more than a few minutes from pharmacies, gas station, postal services, and all the essentials. And now let's talk future-proofing, because these neighborhoods aren't just keeping up, they're actually getting ahead. Fiber internet is being rolled out in several parts of Forest Acres and Shandon, giving residents that faster, more reliable internet service for remote work and streaming. There are new school construction plans and facility upgrades happening within Richland 1 and Richland 2 district, especially over at Creighton and Flora, helping maintain strong demand in these zones. The city has also invested in stormwater upgrades, road resurfacing, and walkability projects that are quietly modernizing these historic neighborhoods without changing their charm. It's not just about what these areas are, it's about what they're becoming. And when you add up everything from lifestyle to location to long-term potential, it's easy to see why so many locals never leave and why more and more transplants are starting to look here first. All right, so now that we've covered the lifestyle, location, and even where things are headed next, every area's got its trade-offs, and these neighborhoods are honestly no different. Let's get into the real pros and cons of living in Forest Acres, Devine Street, and the Shandon area. The stuff people tell me off camera, those anonymous tips they told me I can get canceled for, but they're not gonna be the ones to say it. The pros. You got unmatched charm and location, tree-lined streets, historic homes, and 10 to 15-minute drives to almost anywhere. Locally loved lifestyle, talking coffee shops, boutiques, gyms, restaurants, and walkability without needing a master plan community. Tight-knit, lived-in feel. These are the neighborhoods locals often move back to after trying the suburbs. I remember the first time I met a seller in Lexington, that when I asked why they were selling, they said they were moving back this way. I was surprised being newer to the area at the time, and I had the same perspective most people do. Why would you do that? Now I get it. The trade-offs. Mix and match vibes next door. Off camera, a lot of people tell me, look, we love our house. We love the neighborhood, but just a street or two over doesn't feel the same. These neighborhoods can be vastly different. Beautiful one section, then just not your style the next. You're talking $850,000 one block, then boom, $150,000 homes. No, seriously, the 5 points factor. Let's be real, on football weekends, 5 points gets rowdy at night. If you're nearby, you're gonna hear that college nightlife. No built-in amenities. These neighborhoods weren't built with HOA pools or splash pads. They lean on community parks like Citadel Park or Heathwood Park. And while they're charming, it's not the same as the newer suburban developments with those cul-de-sacs. Think more urban grid-style streets. Floodplains. Just like when I talk about Irmo, these areas have high areas and low areas. Yes, there are some areas that do flood. Now, we can help you make sure to avoid them. They aren't everywhere, but don't assume you are far enough inland that you don't have to look. Now, before we dive into who this neighborhood is for, or not for, these neighborhoods, like Forest Acres, Devine Street, and Shandon, they're not the bargain basement deal some expect, because they're established areas with that charm and character and convenience, and prices tend to be higher than what you might find further out in the suburbs or in other older established areas like Irmo or Capitol View. So if you're thinking your budget will get you a luxury home here, that might not be the case. Homes here are often older and more unique, and buyers pay a premium for location, walkability, and that neighborhood vibe. Some of the most expensive homes in our entire area lie within these streets. And of course, if you have that high-end budget, there are homes in here that look straight out of the Hollywood Hills. Now, that doesn't mean you can't find something great, but it's important to know that your money might not stretch quite as far as it would in those newer suburbs, all competing against new construction, creating more supply to outweigh that demand. I had a couple moving from Florida a while back. Like many, they were feeling squeezed by rising insurance costs in the Fort Myers-Naples area. They started their search in the typical spots, Lexington, Irmo, Blythewood, but quickly felt it wasn't quite the right fit. Felt too spread out for them. And they even joked in some of the areas, the traffic felt unnecessary for a town this size. They were hoping for something with more character, tree-lined streets, and that convenience. They're out grabbing lunch and got chatting with a local who recommended to check out areas like Shandon and Forest Acres. They had originally wrote it off after reading comments online, but they were very open-minded. Needless to say, they instantly fell in love when they pulled into Shandon. They quickly realized this area was a little more pricey than they originally planned for, but they had some wiggle room and came to me asking to see homes just above the original budget they started at. The moment we walked into the houses, they lit up. This is what they were looking for: charm, character, tree-lined streets. They admitted they didn't realize how great living in Columbia zip codes could actually be. Online commenters told them to steer clear. Second, they didn't understand how far their money would need to go here. Their online assumptions, after clicking on a few home listing alerts they loved, didn't quite match reality, but driving those neighborhoods helped them understand the true market and what it takes to find the right fit. So if budget is a big factor, we can help you figure out where your dollar goes furthest. Or if you can stretch that budget, your dreams may be in an area you hadn't even thought of yet. Bottom line, these areas are full of character, but that means they're not cookie cutter. If you want pristine uniformity or a master plan vibe, you might feel more at home in places like Wood Creek Farms or Saluda River Club. But if you want charm, walkability, and to feel like a local, this could be the hidden gem you've been missing this whole time. So after everything we've covered, the charm, the trade-offs, the lifestyle, who is this area really a fit for, and who should probably avoid it? All right, so let's get kicked off with who it's for. So if you love the idea of tree-lined streets, character homes, and that walkable living, this might be your zone. If you're someone who prefers local over big box, small town coffee over those chains, and doesn't mind a neighborhood that has some history and edge, you'll feel right at home here. Whether you're a young professional, a family wanting something central, or even a retiree looking for culture over chaos, these neighborhoods truly hit a sweet spot. But who's it not for? So if you're looking for new construction with community pools, this probably isn't your match. If you are looking for modern layouts, these neighborhoods mostly feature older style homes, which often come with smaller closets and less open floor plans compared to those newer builds. Yes, you can find some modernized ones, but they usually come with a hefty price tag. So if you want that modern, spacious feel, you might find it a bit different here, or be spending more than you expected. And because these areas were built before sprawling developments, you'll notice a higher density of homes. Well, yes, you may have a decent sized yard. Neighborhoods are closer together and right on the edge of the commercial developments compared to those more spread out suburbs like Lexington or Blythewood. This is what actually makes it walkable. At the end of the day, the best place to live is the one that fits you. These neighborhoods have a rhythm to them, and once you feel it, you either get it or you don't. But if you're curious whether this vibe fits your lifestyle, that's exactly what we help people figure out every day. If you're sitting there thinking, this actually might be the spot for me, I'm glad I didn't overlook it. Or maybe you're still torn between suburb life and something closer to downtown. We totally get it. That's why we've created some resources to help you figure it all out. From neighborhood guides to custom relocation plans. Because I tell people all the time, it's important to fall in love with an area before you fall in love with that Zillow home alert. Look, my team and I help people just like you every single week make the move here with more confidence and less of that overwhelm. So if you're ready to explore next steps or just want to ask a few questions, all of our info is down below. But if you want to dive further to get that feel for what life here looks like, I put together a playlist that dives deep into Columbia's neighborhoods, the suburbs, and even some local lifestyle spots. So before you click away, make sure you check out that playlist. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. I mean, we got more interviews, more deep dives, and insider tips coming that you won't want to miss. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode.